So what you should have at the moment is a semi-professional looking obby, because you're now using models from the toolbox, like this one here, and it's starting to look a lot more like something you would find on Roblox.com that was created by other users. What I want to add now, or focus our energy on, is in creating objects through a script. Okay, and so the object that I want to create is an explosion object, and I want it to happen. I'm just going to choose this part here, but of course it could happen anywhere you want. I'm going to choose this part, and the player, when he jumps on the part, after a second or so, or a little bit of delay, an explosion is going to happen, which, if he's around it, is going to drop his health down to 0 and make his joints fall apart, and he'll just kind of explode, right? So the way we're going to do that is highlight the part that you want that to happen on. We can see it's this one. I'll right click it, say insert object, script, and now that we're here, type in local part equals script.parent. And what is this doing? Well, local part is creating a local variable, just a variable that's just for this script. And what is a variable? It's a container that can store objects, numbers, it can store words, right? In our case, it's going to can store an object, and it's going to store an object from the game. Okay, so what we're doing here is we're saying the script. We're talking about this script that we're actually writing in at the moment, .parent. And so the parent of this script is the part. Okay, and the part's parent is the workspace. Okay, so that's how this is going, and you can say the workspace parent is the game. Okay, and so that's going to come into play a little bit later as we continue on in our Roblox education. But yeah, what we want to do here in our script is we want to say, if the player touches the part, do something. Okay, so what we're going to do is going to say part.touched : connect in the parentheses, put on touch. Okay, so what this is a listening event. What it's listening for is if this part, which is this part here, gets touched by anything. And in our game, the only possible thing that it could be touched by is the only moving part, which is our player. Okay, so what this is saying is, if the part is touched by the player, then run this function. All right, now what is a function? It's a block of code that is sitting there waiting to be executed, waiting to be run. So you can see that on touch is underlined blue, but we need to define it. Okay, so we'll say local function on touch, parentheses, hit enter, and it will automatically have the end there for you. In the parentheses, you could put touched part. And so what this is going to do is, when the part is touched, it's automatically going to run this function and any code that we put inside of it. When it gets to the end, it's going to stop execution and just sit there. Okay. This touched function is actually something that we call a listening event, meaning it's always listening. It's waiting for this to happen. And when this does happen, it's going to run this. Okay, so if this happens 100 times, it's going to run this 100 times. If this happens once, it's going to run this once. And this touched part here is what we call an argument. And the touched part is actually going to contain the part that touched this part. Okay, so when the player jumps over onto this platform, his head doesn't touch the platform. His chest doesn't touch the platform. What's going to touch the platform is his feet. Okay, and so when that does happen and it comes here to run this touched part variable, this guy here is going to contain the feet of the player. All right, we're not going to need that for this bit of code, but it's nice to know. And so once we're in here, we're going to make another variable called explosion, and we're going to say equals instance.new parentheses double quotes explosion, and this creates our explosion. Okay, but now we need to put him somewhere in our game. Okay, and we're going to put this explosion object that we just created right here in the workspace with the other parts that are in our game. So to do that, we say explosion.parent is equal to game.workspace. Okay, so now that we did that, the explosion is here in the workspace and he's a part of our game. And lastly, what we need to do is say explosion.position. Okay, so where is this explosion going to go? Well, we want him to go the same place that platform is. So we're going to say part dot position. Okay. So let's go ahead and test this out, see what happens. Say play. Let's come over here, turn our guy around, walk on this. Boom, got explosions going, and I'm going off of the screen. Okay, well, that's great. And let me just why don't we stop there, and I can talk about the rest of this in another video.